Is it possible to be positive about our political future, or do you just see it going down a two-way trip and ending in some civil war or some balkanization? I mean, that's to me that's what we're talking, and it's to try to refrain from nihilism, and
Right.
And whether black pill sometimes actually fits the situation as far as something like that's concerned. Is it actually just pointing out reality and being attuned to what's going on around you, or are you just a negative dick?
Well, like I said, I'm a hopeless optimist, I guess. At the same time too, I'm one of these people that's just newly, I guess, awakened to the tyrannies of my government and shit. At least to an extent. I've always kind of known that the government's fucking bunch of bullshit, but I just never actually looked into it. Now looking into it, like I say, it's becoming much more apparent to me that massive things need to change, basically. Like I forget the quote, but basically governments start creating their most tyrannical laws and stuff like that just before their downfall and stuff. I feel like we're heading toward that point, but it's more not so much just the government, because of course nobody in America wants to see America overthrown completely. I don't even think the left-wing communists want to completely see America just get completely wiped out and completely something new swept in. You know what I mean? Like I say, everybody really wants to do the most good, but it's just people's approaches are different and stuff. But like I say, I totally forgot where I was going, but I feel like there's a great kind of awakening happening, and basically things are going to be really different and stuff like that. But it's basically, like say, nobody wants the entire overthrow of the American fucking system into something completely different, because that's going to leave us vulnerable for a long time. It's also going to lead to of course, revolutions don't happen without blood. So, and fucking governments don't give up power without blood. So it's going to be rough, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, which is why I like to be optimist and hope for evolutionary changes, where basically there's going to be a large awakening of the people, and basically we're going to have a lot more people looking up to people that are more about libertarian minded, or and on the left wing they're probably going to have still people looking toward more sweeping social
Marxist,
reform, right, fucking socialist type bullshit, and still it's going to be that continuous struggle as to whether if they can basically whether government should just leave the people alone, let the people fend for themselves to an extent. Basically, like I say, I consider the two forms of government, the left and right, as like the father and the mother. Basically, the father or the right wants you to be more self-sufficient, wants you to rely less on them and shit like that. I guess to an extent, if like I said, that's left and right, not Democrat, Republican. Fucking both of them just want you dependent on them. Fucking both of them want fucking pure government control over every aspect of your goddamn life, which is why both of them need to be completely overhauled and redone.
Both of them want you disarmed. Both of them want you heavily taxed. Both of them want cheap labor.
Yep.
So on and so on.
Right. And I feel like people are waking up to the whole basically tyranny from both sides and stuff. And so I feel like there's hopefully, like say, going to be a large evolutionary, change in American politics rather than a revolutionary change, because revolutions are not like John Lennon said. There's nothing like John Lennon said. It's fucking people. I think people need to realize that too. That these, revolutions and all this type of shit that they, anarchism, fucking pure anarchism, all this type of shit that these, fucking rage for the machine are fucking preaching and shit. They don't realize that it sounds cool and shit like that when you're fucking bitching about it with your friends up in Harvard and shit. But in practice, revolutions and anarchism and, fucking, all this overthrowing of governments are fucking not beautiful sights. They're fucking
bloody, horrific years, usually.
Yep.
Brothers killing brothers, so on.
Right.
The South,
Right. And so we're seeing this massive polarization, from the media. The media is the ones fucking driving this polarization and shit. They're driving fucking the demonization of the right, of right wingers as fucking fascists and this and that. And at the same time, it is also coming, from places like Fox News, where they're, basically like, they're trying to fucking make this fucking communism. To an extent, they somewhat are. But like we always,
McCarthy was right.
Right, McCarthy was fucking right. But like I say, fucking the road to hell is paved in good intentions and shit. And I truly don't believe that anybody out there is truly an evil person that just wants to fucking see millions of people die. I don't know, maybe except for Bill Gates. But but for the most part, I think people generally want to do the most good, and I think people are trying to think that they're doing the most good in either direction, but like I know, basically people got to do for themselves, the whole, you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. It's pretty true. What you got to do is, the horse has to be fucking thirsty enough to go goddamn figure out how to drink for themselves. Otherwise, the horse ain't going to make it. And, I'm sorry. That's the harsh reality of reality,
Completely. I mean, it's like that with the vast, every species on the planet in reality. You got to be taught, and unfortunately, we've let the people doing the teaching degrade as far as levels are concerned. I mean, we just have the Frankfurt School running our entire education system,
right,
from grade school to university. And if you don't think they're running your grade school, what do you think CRT is?
Right.
And don't say it's history, because it's a theory. Hence the reason it's called critical race theory.
Right.
It is not history.
If anything, I feel like it's more of an experiment to see if we could literally flip racism on the opposite end, basically, where it's basically you demonize or you teach kids. Everyone knows kids are like a sponge. All these people trying to say, oh, you're not indoctrinating kids, with all this and that. Every single thing that you ever say to a child is indoctrinating the child in some way or another. Whether it's positive things, whether it's
whether
attaboys.
It's you have Aunt Jemima on your pancakes.
Right.
I mean, you're putting your ideas into a small sponge's mind.
Right. So basically, that's why I feel like parents really need full on fucking educational rights and shit like that. But of course, they're never going to allow that. They will never allow fucking I don't know, parents to access what their kids are learning in school. There's a lot of fucking people that are pushing for that. But at the same time, you got the FBI fucking investigating parents that speak out against school boards.
Yeah. I mean, and a big part of that is lack of community. I mean, again, we've touched on this topic before. Mm-hmm. It used to be all the officials around you, whether it was the teachers, the mayor, the policemen. They were all people from your community that had ties to the people. There was no ill will.
Right.
And I mean, now all these people are piped in from other places, and they're put into instances where they're around groups of people that they have zero connection to. I mean, emotionally, mentally, whatever, socially, zero connection.
Right.
And I mean, they're not going to care.
Right. I mean, it used to be, kids get arrested for stealing whatever, from the grocery store or whatever, and the cop tells them like, oh, fucking, you want to go to jail? You want me to tell your daddy? It's like, oh, please don't tell my daddy.
Yeah.
But nowadays kids don't have fucking daddies, and that's, it's
the kids don't have dads, and the police would rather jerk you out and beat your head in with a billy club, if we're going to be honest.
Right. It's a whole degradation of what, the policing system was supposed to be. It was supposed to be, basically community protection. Now it's basically become, an authoritarian enforcement,
Yeah, for sure.
It's like I say, you're not even allowed to cruise your own neighborhood as a cop. Like your own neighborhood is not your jurisdiction. It's insane.
And I mean, the Supreme Court has ruled on several occasions that the police have no legal duty to protect you. Their only purpose is to enforce law.
Right.
But it seems like we're kind of snowballing off. I mean, the point of it is, though, I
was actually just about to say that.
I mean, politically, for me, there's no reason that you could actually be, anything other than black-pilled unless you're betting on the next generation that takes over. Because, the corruption, the depth of it that's going on right in front of you, and nothing happens. I mean, everything from Epstein to Ghislaine. They're going to let her serve her shit over in Europe, and
right.
The Biden family, the weird anomalies through election cycles, and we're not just talking, the securest election in history here. I mean, we're also talking all the way back since 2012 at minimum.
Yeah.
Even if you don't agree with the situation, because it seems like it's just hypocrisy. But you remember, they, the Dems were saying the same thing happened to them with Gore, and then, but then it was, of course, it's okay to question it. There's a possibility for fraud and whatnot. But whenever it happens on the right, you're a conspiracy theorist or you're a nut if you question anything. And I mean, again, with J6, I mean, look, that's 9/11 part 2.
Right.
May 29th isn't mentioned.
Right.
And then not to mention 2 years of BLM and Antifa burning down half the country. Hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in damages, a vast majority of which weren't covered, and we're talking small mom and pop businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to not be black-pilled.
Right.
I mean, there's not a single person at this point that could come in and save us. And by the time we get the old weekend at Bernie's potato out of here, what's going to be left to save?
Right. Like you say, there's the whole fucking idea that basically Biden's burning the place down, on his way out, intentionally and stuff like that. And I believe that's kind of true. Like I said, the Dems realize that their foundation is basically crumbling and stuff. They're losing voters left and right. There's like 6 million or something. Why is it always fucking 6 million or something? 6 million fucking people have jumped ship from the Democrats to fucking Republicans, this election cycle, and like they're seeing their foundation crumble and stuff like that. That's clearly we all, you and I all know that fucking the J6 committee it's basically a sham. It's basically put on a show, try and save face and stuff like that. Basically, you have to keep the fucking people scared. That's the whole left wing fucking agendas. You have to keep the people afraid of something, so that's their we're gonna protect you from this. That's what they're trying to do right now with abortion and stuff. They're trying to say that I guarantee you the Republicans, they're gonna try and ban women from traveling from state to state next.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, there's nobody in the fucking world that is like, what do you think, we're fucking the Taliban?
The only people that are banning travel are Democratic states.
Right.
Because COVID-19.
Because the COVID-19. Right, let's not get banned now. but it's it's like they're basically they have to demonize, like fucking like Bongino says all the time, like, oh, there's a big scary monster outside, and fucking we got to protect you and stuff like that. Or fucking, how do you get people to walk into a prison willfully? You have to convince them that it's more dangerous outside than in here.
Yeah.
And basically that's the entire fucking that's been the left wing fucking way of gaining votes is through fear porn and stuff like that, and through
fear porn, political theater, and taxing you to pay for their laundry schemes overseas and to arm their cronies. That's what we've devolved into, buddy.
Well, and then also it's got to do a lot with the unhealthy relationship that celebrities have with the Democratic Party. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Basically, they're like, say, celebrities, their job is to be a sock puppet. People talk about like, oh, he was amazing in this role. He's amazing. He was reading a script. He did not fucking write that role. He did not invent that character.
Show your chain off, monkey. Yeah. Show your chain.
Exactly. Basically they're talking heads. They're literally fucking puppets with the fucking a contracted hand up their asshole telling them what to say. And if they say anything that deviates from that, then their fucking contract is ended. Their way of life is ended. Now, even if you're not on a contract with cancel culture, if you deviate from the left wing agenda, you're canceled, and your way of life is over anyway.
Gonna get a hashtag message,
right? It's purely it's I don't know, like I say, the left wing agenda is clearly gone to a point of totalitarian dictatorship, basically, where there is no compromise on the left. It's 100%, we get our way, or we're going to get at least a little bit of our way until we completely get our way. We'll come back next week and get another little bit of, and then, like you say, with the governor of Illinois, talking about, like with the killings over the 4th of July parade and stuff like that, like, oh, we need to ban guns in Chicago, and we, we need to ban guns nationwide and stuff like that. It's like, dude, just because you cannot fucking run your town, just because you cannot run your fucking state, just because you fucking run a shithole, does not mean that fucking you get to fucking dictate how the rest of the country should run. The rest of the country, the way that the rest of the country lives is not directly affecting your fucking state. I mean, at least to an extent, fucking, if anything, the culture that is coming out of your state of fucking Chirac and all this and that type of shit is anything more negatively affecting the country.
Yes, sir.
Like,
that's for sure. I mean, you hate to be cliche, but it's the old Bezmenov theory, right?
Yeah.
Chip away slowly until so you don't notice,
Are
and
the
then
eligible
one day you're going to
civilians.
wake up in the land of your forefathers under a communist rule, man.
Right.
And you've watched it happen, and everyone just keeps talking about like, well, it's basically like you got the a Trump or DeSantis or the leftists and yada yada. I mean, let's be real here. Who rolled in to start this soft communism? The soft communism.
Right.
It was our boy. It was our old boy Crumpy. I don't know, if it was intentional. I don't know if he was just duped in, by the CDC and the old Faucisms.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's really what set it off. Gave you your first UBI payment.
Right. Yeah. But like I said, I think the whole COVID and stuff like that going on, which I guess it was really just kind of a blind side, I guess. Of course, not trying to say not conspiracy or theorizing and shit, saying that it wasn't planned, but I think the handling of it was just really kind of a blind side. Like I say, everything was going fucking great during the Trump years, so that conspiracy theorizing again, they had to fucking throw a fucking wrench in the gears.
Well, either way, even if if you're a firm believer in it, if you're someone that bought into the fear porn, or you're an extremist, or what's considered an extremist at this point, where it was it's non-existent. Either way, it's not a conspiracy to say that everything that happened is the direct repercussion of the state's reaction.
Right.
Like people always
Right.
try to say it was because of the coup. It wasn't because of the coup. It was because of states' reactions to the coup.
Right.
That's what's hurt us. That's what's got us on the money train, and that's what put us on the uptick in inflation.
So do you think it was really the entire world like kind of shut down with this, because a lot of these companies, a lot of these countries already had shit economies and stuff, and so after the lockdown and stuff, if they even went on lockdowns and stuff, if their economies coming back in shambles and stuff, and you seeing inflation happening across the board, globally, do you think a lot of that is because a lot of these nations' currencies are tied to the U.S. dollar, or do you think that's because they had their own individual lockdowns and crashed their own economies?
I think it's a combination. I think some places, obviously, like some of your third world nations, obviously they didn't lock down, or most of them they didn't even have information.
Right.
They didn't know what the hell was going on.
Right.
And then you got a few European nations that didn't lock down. But if you remember, you had American politicians that were talking down on those countries, like Sweden and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like even Trump. I mean, you think about even states, like when the guy over in Georgia wanted to open early, and Trump was talking shit on him. Or you got Thomas Massey that was talking against it, and Trump said he should be kicked out of the party. So I mean, it's definitely a combination of them. And and then obviously a huge portion of first world nations did shut down, and they're tied to us with inflation's hurting them, plus the repercussions of their own lockdowns for sure.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that was a pretty good chat, man. So, yeah, I think we touched on some good topics. Hopefully we don't get banned. I don't know, man. Good times, definitely.
Yes.
You got any closing stuff?
Like, share, subscribe. You need to follow us on Rumble. We're going to start moving all the content over to BitChute shortly. I mean, obviously, YouTube's great and all, but definitely keep in touch on Alt Tech, because you never know when it could be the last. Smell later.